My fellow engineers, mixers, producers, today we're going to be breaking down two of the biggest building blocks of mixing, and that is attack and release on a compressor. When we think of mixing, we think of the two biggest things, EQ and compression. And with EQ, what do we have to worry about? Adding EQ, subtracting EQ, or leaving it alone? With EQ, that's all that there is. But when it comes to compression and attack and release, there's three different approaches that we can go to, and we're going to be going at that and attacking it in this video and giving you plenty of examples so that you can kind of understand and know which buttons you're going to push if you need to compress. But there are a few buttons that I need you to compress. Subscribe button, like button, and notification bell. You know, that was off the top. That one was crazy. Transition game still crazy and all that. We're really going to be getting into this episode. I'm happy I'm in my new spot. It's not completely done yet, but we're getting there day by day. In the 80,000s right now, on our way to 100,000. So want to clap it up and thank you guys for helping us get there. Really help us hit this mark. I mean, it's going to be a huge milestone for us and the channel and everything that we've been doing the last couple years. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. As I was saying earlier, there are three ways to approach attack and release on a compressor. That is setting the compressor by feel, setting the compressor scientifically, and using tools that set the attack and release for you. All right, the most important one, people would say, would of course be finding out how to set attack and release by feel, right? Well, to do that, we have to understand what attack and release does. Attack essentially is how quickly or slowly the compressor affects the music, and release is how quickly or slowly it lets it go. It's really just that simple. We're gonna focus on the attack right now, and that focus is mainly on the transients, right? The transient information, because that's the first thing that's going to be hit. Let's talk about it. When you set attack too quickly, the compressor can be too jumpy, reacting too quickly to a transient, creating unwanted distortion, and even a pumping effect. What I want you guys to do now is listen to this example of what pumping sounds like.
Caught in between a rock and a hard place, trying to figure my way out. Where the hell do I belong? Trying to find just where I can. Caught in between a rock and a hard place, trying to figure my way out. Where the hell do I belong? Trying to find just where I count.
There's times that pumping can be useful, but most of the time it's kind of an unwanted effect. If you set an attack fast, it's going to, kind of control the dynamics. But if you set it too fast, it can kill the dynamics, and that's not what we want all the time. Now, too slow of an attack, it's going to feel like the compressor is not doing anything at all. And that's definitely not what we want, or we would have just left it how it was, Okay, let's hop in. We're going to listen to compression on a tom. Now, the reason why I'm picking a tom is because it has the initial hit and then the ring, or the body, however you want to call it. If you have an attack and it's set really fast, it's going to kind of squash that transient down so that it's not peaking too much, right? And it's going to make it kind of on the same level that the ring is. So you don't want to really do that, because you want them to have their own separate feelings. So you want to get the attack just right. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of examples in this one. In this example, I want you guys to just listen until it feels right. Now, did you notice how when it was too fast or too slow, it didn't really have a good feel to it? This is all building up to something, but you guys will see that in a second. We're getting to release. Release is how quickly or slowly it's going to let that go. Now, if you have too fast of a release, then it's going to increase the perceived loudness of a signal, right? Because it's only going to be compressing just the beginning of what happens, and then the rest of it's going to be at full volume. So you don't want to do that, because you're going to have jumpy dynamics, and the whole point of compressing things is we want it to be smooth and controlled. Yeah, let's do the same thing that we just did, but we're going to do it for the release of it, and let's try to get this tom sounding good all the way around until it feels right to us, because that's the most important part in this segment. We want it to feel right. Let's go. All right, now that we have an understanding of what feel is on a compressor, let's do this on an entire mix. And we're gonna make this a little bit interactive. We're gonna do it on an entire mix. We're going to play it with nothing on the mix. Then we're going to play it with 3 different types of compression, attack, and release settings. And you're gonna pick which one you think sounds the best. The second that you hear it, you're gonna leave it in the comments below. And then afterwards, we're gonna see if we agree on what we think feel is. This is gonna be fun, right? So let's try something. I don't think we usually do stuff like this, but new year, you know, new day. Let's have some fun.
I'm moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made. Moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made. I'm moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made. I'm moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made.
Now, before the next step, leave your results in the comments. Go ahead. What'd you think it was? Out of those examples, I went with B. And you did too if you're right. No, if your ears are like mine or if you feel like I do. A was pumping too much for me to enjoy it. And C felt a little too choked and almost like it didn't go with the groove of the song. That's why I went with B. It felt like it fit with the song the best, and you know, the settings, you saw what they were as we were just rolling that back. But yeah, that's how you compress by feel. Now let's go into the next topic, compressing scientifically. I mean, I'm sure we would all rather just do things by feel, but what if you don't really hear compression or understand it all that well? And you kind of want to have a foolproof way of doing it each time. So we're going to set the release of the compressor scientifically. Now, how do you do that? So you're going to take the number 60,000 and you're going to divide it by the BPM of the song. And what this is going to do is give you a quarter note. I know it sounds a little confusing, but it's actually really simple. 60,000 divided by your BPM. That will work for quarter note release time. If you want to take it a step further and try it with an 1/8 note, then you just have to cut that number in half. All right, let's look at an example of where we want to just do it by a quarter note, the regular equation. And I want you to pay attention to the gain reduction meter and how it's releasing back and forth and going with the music in this, because that's really important. That's the point of this, so you don't have to worry about it. That number that we got, we're going to take that and we're going to just put it into the millisecond spot on our release time on the compressor in the plugin. And you'll see exactly how that works out.
I'm moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made is going in the grave. I'm running.
Now, do you see how good that felt with the song, but it was still science? We're gonna do that same thing again, but now we're going to do it where we want the compression to release on an 1/8 note. So we're gonna do that same thing on another track, but we're gonna cut that in half afterwards. This is going to really help people that don't understand how to hear compression or the way that it should be moving with the song, how to gauge that properly. And I know there's gonna be some people here that are gonna be like, are you going to account for the time that it's taking for the attack, plus or minus so many milliseconds? Yeah, I get where you guys are going with that, but this is a pretty solid baseline for people that can't hear it and don't understand it. It'll kind of get you there. We can talk about that stuff in a future episode.
I'm moving forward, never looking back. Every mistake I made is going in the grave.
Now, once again, don't you like the way that that worked with the song? I know that I did. I thought that it sounded great. And another thing you want to pay attention to is the attack time now, because you figured out what the release is, but what are you gonna do with the attack? A rule of thumb for this is to basically go with a slow attack. You're not gonna mess anything up and it's going to work for you pretty much all the time. If you want to start experimenting with it, go for a medium attack, and what you'll be doing now is you're kind of mixing that feeling and science thing together, because you've already figured out the perfect release, right? So that's a scientific way of figuring out how you're supposed to properly compress, whether it be by feel and groove or whether it be by science. But what if you don't really want to pull out a calculator while you're in the middle of a session? Or what if you're too inexperienced to really hear or feel what the compression's doing. What other options are there for you? And that brings us into number 3, using tools that already figure out your problem. And we have a lot of those here at JST. If you've ever paid attention to gain reduction or any of the compressors in our bus glue series, you'll notice that we don't really have attack and release times. Now, why is that? Well, when Joey was designing these, he already kind of knew most people don't understand how attack and release works, so it's all done internally. So you don't even have to worry about it, and it just sounds good out the gate. It's all about having the right tools for the job. So with these compressors, you don't have to worry about the tempo. You don't have to worry about the type of song. You don't have to worry about, it's all been done. It's all been handled. And I'm not saying we're the only people that do this or have tools like this, but we're just trying to help you guys in your journey. So if you've ever listened to anything from the series that we're talking about, they sound outstanding, and it really takes all the thinking out of it, especially for the people that are just like, I need this to sound good right now. Gain reduction's that type of plugin, right? You throw something on it and it instantly sounds good. You don't have to worry about attack release with it. Let's pull up an example of gain reduction. Just regular vocal with nothing on it and then gain reduction. You'll see what I'm talking about.
I think about it all the time. What if I was dead? Would anybody talk about it? I think about it all the time. What if I was dead? Would anybody talk about it?
That's what I'm talking about. Do you want to sit there and figure out what the attack and release is for all those things? I mean, you could. I mean, nobody's stopping you. But we're trying to make tools to help the creator, help the viewer, all the people that support us to get to the next level. So there you guys have it. You can go by feel, go by science, or go buy our products in the link below. I hope that this was really helpful to you guys and kind of eye-opening. There's a million ways to skin a cat, or in this case 3. And there's different points in your journey where some of this stuff will be easy and some of it will be a little bit harder. I like to think that I work at a place that allows you guys to continue in that journey at whatever level you're at and to keep on chugging along, because that's all that we're trying to do, especially in this new year. So there you have it, my friends. And just to make sure that I didn't get this wrong, I wasn't saying that our plugins don't go by feel. They go by feel too. They have a lot of vibe, especially the Bus Glow series, which happens to be one of my favorites. So I guess in closing, what do you guys want to see me cover next? Did you get the answer right to the examples that were in the video? Leave it in the comments below, and I will chat with you fine people, like I always do.